This is Short Hammer. It is the 24th of April, 2021, and this is Trading Zones. Last week was amazing. Um, was on the wrong side of some of the runs, on the right side of some of them. I love the week. Let's go straight to the MNQ. If you look at the 4 hour chart, what you can see is let's trace this back a little bit. All right. So boom, 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 boom. And you can see as the week progressed, right? You can see the movements, right? So you can look back here, look at this candle structure. And this is from uh, about the 8th of April all the way through the 13th of April, right? Look at this candle structure, how we're playing around in this area between the 13754 area. You can even drop it down to the 13688 area, right? And all the way up to the 13768, even up to this 13823. You could do all that, right? What you look for is when you see these drops, look at the reversals. And on the 4 hour, it looks a lot cleaner. Um, and I had to redraw these lines because I had some questions about them, right? And let's drop this down to the 1 hour on the MNQ. You can see what I mean here. Look at this 1 hour chart, right? So once we broke below the trend, you saw right here a little bit of bottoming up. Then look at this flare down, then up, and we're over the line. Then we're up into the next line, and then we're here. Nothing bullish above. We pull back through. And the chances of us retesting this 13873 are pretty high. We'll see how that plays out, right? We have to wait and see. But switch back to the 4 hour. What I would watch for Monday upcoming, watch to see what we do it around the 13873, or if we're bullish above the 13955. The high was about 13982. If we pop that, then we might get a squeeze into the 14026, and then there's a chance for the all-time highs to get hit for us to run, right? Scroll this back. Yes. So let's see how this plays out. But don't be bullish or bearish. For me, whatever inflection points that you're using, wait for the market to get there, right? And see what the price action tells you. Whether you're using EMAs, you're using standard deviation, you're using pivots, you're using just Elliott wave, whatever you're using, make sure you know your supply and demand levels and watch to see what happens when it gets there. People call it different things, but I call it supply and demand levels. And that to me is levels where, um, the buyers and sellers are battling it out and we spend a bunch of time there. Some people call it, point of control, whatever you want to call it. I call it I like supply and demand areas, right? So for me, I'm going to be watching this heading into next week. What I'll be watching is to see, do we get below 13873? Or do we get above 13955? And once we do that, I'll wait to see if we're bullish off this line for bearish below, or if we're bearish off this line or bullish above. That's all I'm going to watch for. Nothing more, nothing less, right? That's all I want to see. All right, let's move it on. I know I usually start with the MES, but I usually trade the MNQs, to be honest. And I didn't even complete these lines because it's what I've been trading. But if you watch the 4143, we're now back testing this 4166, right? We'll watch this all the way across. We'll see if we hold. If we don't hold, there's a potential that we drift back down here into the 4142. And then the next level is 4118. Below that, we have 4092. And then you have these lines here. And we'll see how this plays out. For me, I'm not bearish or bullish. I'm neutral on the market. So for me, I just wait for it to get to my inflection points, supply demand zones, and then I'll wait to see what the buyers and sellers do. And based on what I see off the higher time frame charts and the lines and the levels and the pivots, then I look for lower time frame entries on the reversals. And I try to get in on that on that. If we're selling, I look for the pullback into a supply demand area, and I play the continuation. That's the long and the short of it. That's it. Let's go over to the RTY. And this one's going to be short and sweet. So where are we now? So we are slightly bullish above this area that we were unable to break from the 14th of April all the way till now, right? Nothing closed above there, no strength. So what we want to look for here on this pullback is that this holds and that we get another bullish candle here that breaks this and runs us into 2290. That would be beautiful. That would be a beautiful setup. We'll see how that works, right? But if we pull back into this area and we reject and begin to sell and this breaks, then we're watching for a retest of this 2247 area. We'll see how this plays out. This area could almost be a line right here in this area, this 2260s area, just because the inability to get bullish above there is significant to me, right? This candle slightly breaks the pattern, based on this that we closed up here, but we'll see if this sell down, if they buy this back up and we get some continuation to the upside, right? This will be interesting. So I'll be watching for that on Monday also. Amazon. Okay. So let's go ahead and extend this 3220 area. And let's 450 it out all the way across, right? I like these lines. When we get back to it, it will be something to watch. Boom, all the way across. So what are we watching on Amazon? Okay. So, people say that, or some people say that these lines don't really mean anything. Look back on the videos. All these lines have been here, right? So, and I know I'm going back a week or two, right? But watch this. So we push into the 3220 22 area, right? 3220s right here. We push into this 3220s. Over, under, over. Slide along that and look at this candle above, right? Flare up. Into this area, look at the inflection. Boom, flare up. Look at this rejection, flare up right into this 3430s area, right? Rejection back down, dip below, back over, flare up through it here, back test 3430s, rejection. What do you think this is? All these lines are being obeyed. Supply demand zones, right? These little supply demand lines, it works, right? So now what are we watching for going into Monday? Watch to see if these 3340s hold and if we can get back into these 3370s. Honestly, for me, if I'm watching this, what I'll be watching for is, can we get bullish above the 3430s? When is earnings for Amazon? Let's slide to the right. So based on our chart, it says earnings is the 28th of May. Okay, cool. So if earnings is the 28th of May, that's about 30 days out. What I'm looking for on Amazon is a liquidity break. This, maybe I'm, wrong for saying that or for thinking that or feeling that. Hold on. 29th of April, I'm wrong. Oh no. Oh no, it was too late. It's too late. This was it. This was the liquidity break here. So this is something to keep an eye on. Why did I see the other date? That's weird. Okay. So that's out the window. So now just wait to see the reaction and play the reaction. The premium for Amazon this upcoming week is going to be nuts. So unless you're selling premium, be careful, because that, whichever direction it goes, that volatility is going to be crushed. So what you want to watch for is 45 to 30 days out prior to Amazon. A lot of these big tech names, or just big names, period. But Amazon, look for the liquidity break, whatever causes it, right? And you usually want to get long on a steep drop, because usually 30 days or so into earnings, you'll see this run up. Just look back. Historically, usually it does happen. It doesn't always happen, but if you get a liquidity break headed into earnings for a big, like, blue chip stock that there's no reason for it to be down, it's usually a good time to sort of look for a position on it, right? And so Amazon above these 3220s, look at this extension. So now what can we expect? For me, I'm gonna wait for earnings. I may talk to Elisa and get a what I'll call a creative options play, low risk, high reward options play. I probably will on Amazon. But what we want to see, if you're bullish post earnings, you want this above the 3430s and you want this to go, right? And if you're bearish, you want this to gap down and get below the 3220s and then get negative drift down to around the 30 to the 3080s, maybe lower, right? That's what you want to see on Amazon. But based on what we've seen, just the arc of companies and what's been happening since the pandemic began. Whole Foods, people are buying that out. They're delivering food. People love it. Amazon's delivery service is a major hit. I love Amazon. They deliver packages consistently. Have few issues with their delivery service. So that's a home run for them there too. Amazon Web Services, more companies are going online because of the pandemic. More businesses have seen that as a way to go. So no matter what they're doing, a lot of companies are utilizing Amazon Web Services. And just in all aspects, right? And I believe they've I believe they have the NFL this year. They have a few of the games. So in all aspects, they seem to be growing. We'll see, but I'm more bullish than not on Amazon. But we'll see how they react to earnings and post earnings. I'll play the trend, whichever direction that is. But watch these levels on Amazon: 33, 3430s. You need to break to be more bullish. 3380s, 3370s, 3340s. This is what 44s. 3260s. We'll see. If we pull down in here, look for the buyers to step in. As long as it's about the 3220s, I believe we're still bullish. If you look at the bigger, the sort of the bigger picture, you can see these bottoms here, right? And you see these tops. So where's the max extension? 3550. You got to get through there. We can make all-time highs, and it's game over. It's going to run. So let's see how this plays out on Amazon. As I mentioned, I'm only doing a couple of names. Okay, drag this across. If you have had these lines on your charts for the last few months, then you know what I'm about to say. 493 on Netflix's dip buy area. Um, well, it's one of the dip buy areas. The area that it could get to, honestly, is down here, right above the 460s. So below the 470s, you look to get long on Netflix, and above the 550s, you look to get short and wait for it to trend down, right? So when it reaches the 550s, what we really need is an extension to get us into the 600s, because this area, if we go back, has been an area that we've rejected. Once we push into the 550s, the air has been thin. We haven't spent many days above that, and we've come right back to it, almost like a magnetic pull, and we've dropped, right? Over and over again, we see that. So Netflix did go down. Um, Earnings weren't horrible, but it's hard to continue to grow. And what did we say about Netflix? If you remember the last video, and also probably the video before that, we thought it would be hard for Netflix, right? What just happened? The previous year and a half or so, there was a pandemic. People were home. So if globally so many people were home and so many people were subscribing to Netflix, they had all these, their metric is subscribers, right? They had all these new subscribers because people were home. People that are usually at work, their numbers were through the roof. So if at the height of the pandemic, your numbers hit X, right? What's the potential that, as the vaccines are being rolled out, airlines are beginning to hire pilots, and things are beginning to open back up? What are the chances that you now have a greater subscriber growth than you had back then when the pandemic first began and people were home? The chances were low. So the chances of Netflix going down, we believe, was more likely than not that it was going to go down. Just based on that, like, what are the chances that you could find globally more people than you found during the height of the pandemic, the height of fear, when things were all closed, all shut down? So from here, what I keep an eye on, Netflix did mention that they are considering tightening the restrictions on the use of passwords, right? Because one of the big issues they have is that people are sharing their passwords. So you have all these, different people that may have one login. It's maybe 10 or 15 people that are watching Netflix from all these different locations. We'll see how they deal with that. But as they deal with that, they may be able to grow their subscriber base. Because there's only two ways I think that they can get more revenue: charge more for the service, or crack down on the password situation, and then force a percentage of the people that are using it for free by utilizing someone else's password, or someone else's login or credentials, by forcing them to sign up. Right. So we'll see how that works out with Netflix and how that, but they have a lot of competition, whether it's HBO Max and what they've been releasing as far as movies and series and things that they're doing, or if it's Disney Plus. It's just a lot. They have a lot of competition right now, and so we have to see how all of this shakes out. I think the dynamic that's really interesting is movies that are being released digitally is really impactful, I believe, to Netflix in some ways, because people do want to, consume a lot of the media that Disney is pushing right now, right? And so I think Netflix was sort of not the anti movie theater, but they sort of created their own niche. And now that the pandemic allowed um, a lot of other properties sort of encroach upon their territory by pushing things digitally and not utilizing theaters to release things. So I think it's really interesting. We're going to see how that plays out. But numbers: 504, 507. If we get bullish above this, watch for squeezing the 529. Watch then the 535, 542. Not sure if we're going to go back up there quickly. If this thing doesn't sort of get back through the 550s, when we drop more, watch the 493, then the 490, 485, 475. If we extend below the 475 into these 460s, if the 457s don't hold, timber, right? So I think that we'll probably see a little bit of sort of a ping pong action as we go back and forth in here. We'll see how that plays out. But you have these levels on Netflix. Remember what you want to do, whatever you're using as your trigger to enter, watch these levels. If we're above, watch for the squeeze up. If we're below, watch for the drift. We'll see how that plays out. NVIDIA being NVIDIA, wonderful. We want to see how this holds up. Earnings is coming up on the 25th of May. Um, for me, one of the big things that's going on right now is that for those that are purchasing cars or selling cars or however you're doing that, a lot of my buddies that sell cars and flip cars, the market is nuts right now. So they're going to auctions and the prices are through the roof. And why are the prices through the roof? Right now, there is a microchip crisis. So they have a lot of cars that, fresh off the production line, supposed to be released, that can't be because they don't have the microchips. And so right now, the used car market is seeing a massive crunch where the prices for vehicles are going up, even though the value isn't going up. What you're having to pay for used vehicles is going up because the supply just isn't there. The demand is greater than the supply, similar to the housing market, right? And so I believe, I may be wrong. I think NVIDIA may be one of the companies that can help as far as the microchips. I may be wrong. I didn't dig too deep, and I am not, but just any chip company right now, you sort of have to keep an eye on them because um they are really important to solving that problem. So NVIDIA levels that I would be keeping an eye on, and I didn't redraw this area, but this area is the 613. Here we have the 628s. Here we have the 637s. Whenever you see these little dash lines, that's usually that I'm trading it, and I just draw the lines quickly as a reference point. So, but watch these 589s below the 555s, but I don't think that that's something we need to watch for right now. With earnings around the corner, let's see if we get a little bit more of a squeeze here. on NVDA. We'll see how that plays out. Microsoft. Look at this and look at this insanity. I love Microsoft, and I've been using Microsoft. I've been utilizing pivots, right? So I love Microsoft, and it's really been helping me with my cues. Love this. So what are we gonna watch for? And you can watch me right here. Watch this. I'm gonna slide these bad boys in here. Um, Boom, inflection point, and I'll go back and check these later. This is just a quick draw, right? And I'll know that everything above this level is bone and boom. I like it there. So I'll come back to this right later and I'll adjust my lines and delete a few lines. But I'll know that everything above this 24, this 244 level is fresh. And so I'm going to watch all these little inflection points. I'm going to be watching to see, boom, give me this here. Be watching to see. I want to come back in here. I'm going to look at all these later, right? And we'll see how it plays out. But Microsoft, bullish. We'll see how it reacts. If we get below these 261s, watch the 259.70s. If we drift below that, watch the 257s, then the 254s, 251s, 249s. This little area here, kind of, pull back, nice little flag and break up 247s. We'll see how this plays out, how this holds up. But the market is pretty strong. One moment. Let me do this real quick. How far? One moment. I am multitasking. Hmm. 1 second. Okay. Okay, pardon me. A lot going on at once. Okay. Alrighty. And check out Apple. I think I may check out maybe one or two more, then that'll be it. But look at Apple. Apple's not giving us the extension, even though we saw this run here on Apple. We're holding up around the 134s, right? So if I'm watching Apple, what I'm keeping my eye on is a break and bullish above this 134 and watch an extension through the 135s. If we see that on Apple, watch the next level with earnings coming up right around next week, right? Wait for the reaction and see which way we go. I don't know how good their numbers are going to be because things have really been closed down as far as their stores. So it depends on how strong they've been online. And I know they just had their thing where they released and talked about they were releasing all these new products, but what have their sales been without people being able to go into the stores, right? Remember, they made a shift post Steve Jobs where accessories became a big gainer for them. So we have to see, based on the pandemic and so many things being closed down, so many stores being closed down, were they able to push their accessories online? We'll see. I mean, they just got me to purchase a few Apple accessories, but I don't know how many other people are purchasing those things online. So we have to see if their in-store sales look like, and we have to see what those numbers are and how were they affected by the pandemic. And I believe China's been opened back up, so maybe those numbers are great. We don't know. So This will be, I think, really interesting to see how they weathered the storm as far as the pandemic and how they managed some of their reopenings in different areas in different countries. So I'm definitely waiting to see which way this goes. It's almost like we've been consolidating here between the 131s and the 134s this past week, and we have to see which direction we go. If we're bullish, we crack the 137s and squeeze into the 142s. If we're bearish and we drop through the 131s and dip into the 127s, potentially lower, right? So we'll see how that plays out. Facebook. Facebook going nuts, pulling back to the 297s. Let's see if this holds. And if we can get back to through the 303s and 307s with earnings around the corner, I'll be watching and waiting because usually, remember, with Facebook, what's interesting is it's not just the earnings that are important. When Zuckerberg speaks post earnings, it usually affects the stock. So let's see what they have going on. What they have going on for their earnings, I'll definitely be watching. But all these names, the most I'll do is do a creative option strategy that doesn't really risk much because I'm not really big on playing earnings. I'm more on playing the run up 30 to 45 days prior to earnings, looking for some sort of a liquidation break to be able to get in for the earnings run. So we'll see how this settles, how this plays out. But Facebook, watch these levels. Definitely watch if we can get back through the 312s. But right now we're below the 303s and 307s, and we're holding the 297s. We'll see how this plays out if we hold and we go back up. Watch to see if we're bullish above 303, which opens up 307. If we are not, and we sort of pull back to 297s, a drift below 297 intraday may open up the 291s. We'll see how that plays out on Facebook. Over to Tesla. Tesla, 713s, bullish above, watch 780s. Watch the videos. We talked about this. But if we can't get above these 780s, we're sort of meandering, right? So we need this thing to spring. Earnings coming up, we might get that, right? So we'll see how Tesla reacts. We should get a nice extension one way or the other. Um, but preferably you want this above 780s so we can get bullish again and we can jam, and you want 780s to be the floor. If we get down here in the 500, which I call the Sophie level, that's the level where she's normally getting long. Once Tesla gets below the 600s, she's long, and we're gonna, she's gonna ride this bad boy back up. And she has her cues and her triggers and things that she looks for her to get long. But she's already out of this, took her profits. But I'm pretty sure um probably took most of her profits. But 713 is a level. Watch how we're riding this. Look how these levels play out, right? You guys have seen this on the charts for months. These levels. Watch these levels. So you have your lines and you can play these things intraday or weekly for swings. Just watch your levels and watch your lines. And whatever you're using for your triggers to jump in, keep an eye on those. That is see Goldman Sachs. I know. Goldman Sachs sucks, but I love the range. And right now we're above 337s. So we have to watch for 344s if we could get up there. And we want to sort of get bullish above this. Look at these shenanigans, right? Can't get above that level. We'll see if we can get above that level on this little buy up here. Usually with banks, what's interesting that what you want to watch for is how much they're approved for their stock buyback programs, and that usually helps the stock run, right? So post earnings, what's really important is their share buybacks. So you sort of want to see how what that number is, and then you want to see when they're going to begin to execute that. So that's really interesting where you sort of get a secondary wave of bullishness if they beat and then they're doing share buybacks. It's really interesting. So I'll be keeping an eye on Goldman Sachs, and I'll take an opportunity. Probably to actually no, tomorrow I'm going to do a whole lot of nothing. Well, the kids are gonna push me around, but other than the kids pushing me around, I'm gonna be relaxing. Um, got some equipment to put together, but this is watch this. If we can get above the 344s, opens up 347s, make an extension to 356s. If we dip below the 330s and we begin to drift, watch the 319s. Below that, opens up the 310s. I'll be keeping an eye on Goldman Sachs. Do I think Goldman Sachs is worth $339? I don't know. That's not what's important. What is important is wait for this. For me, I am going to be doing more put strategies on this, but I'm not doing it yet. I kind of want to wait for a break one way or the other because I like to play level to level. And right now I've got buckets, right? It could push above here and be gone. It could push here and pull back down. I want a setup where I can get an extension of about 10 to 15 points and I can feel comfortable with that return, right? And now JP Morgan Chase. Okay. So boom, boom, boom here. So what we want to see here, and you can see the prior levels where they bought the dip below the 149s, right? Right here around this 147s, still holding. I'll do a mini line there. Watch that. I'll adjust this later. I know it looks like it's weird, right? So what you want to see here, the last time that we went here and even here, this little inflection point here, push up, push up, push up, reach to the 153s. That's possible. The dip here, push up, reach up to the 154s. So 154s was a area to reach for. 154s, 154s. Here couldn't quite make it. Here, here, here. So maybe 154 is going to come up again until we crack below the 147s. So I might actually put on a little play on that 2 weeks out. See if we could reach the 154s. That'd be interesting. Yep. So we'll see how that plays out. I'll do something. It's because I don't trade JPM, I trade Goldman. I'll just pop something in here and see how it works out. I'm not even going to watch it. We'll see how that plays. And I'll pop my stop will be a break below 147. So we'll see. And we'll see if it works. So if you like this video, please go ahead and tap that like button. Give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to receive more videos like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Power of Pivots, where you can look forward to not just receiving more videos from me, but videos from Elisa as she shows and demonstrates how she utilizes her Power of Pivot strategy to find great pre-market, intraday, and post-market plays. Definitely get some great swing setups from her strategies. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful week of trading, and please stay safe.